Hi everybody, welcome back to part 3 of beginner tips for your Thor. Like the comment mentions, we are going to get into some Switch emulation, break it down into 3 different steps, where to get the games, how to extract them, and then where to get keys and firmware. Maybe not in that order, but that's the timeline. And then a couple housekeeping notes. I am using Firefox along with ad blockers. If you're gonna emulate anything and get any ROMs from any site, please use a goddamn ad blocker. You don't know what's out there. The sites are safe, however, the little pop-ups and shit like that are not. If you do not have the Eden emulator, go ahead and download that. So you can look up Eden, something like that. And it should be the first one that pops up. So you scroll down, hit download, scroll down some more, and look for the Android pack. You would download this one. It'll download in the APK, extract the APK, boom, app right there. Or you could skip that whole process, and if you already have Obtainium, you should be able to find it in its list right here. Now, once you first boot up Eden, it's gonna pop up with little messages saying you need firmware and you need prod keys. Open up Firefox, look up switch keys, plain and simple. Scroll down to a GitHub, this one right here. And then you're gonna want to follow these 2 links. I'll open them up and show you what they look like, but you're gonna go to this link, scroll all the way down and find Eden. Boom. And you can hit download, go again, and it should have its data in about what this is here. And it'll have these different links. You're gonna wanna make sure that your keys match your firmware. So I'm using 22.10 for my keys. And once you download that, you can exit back out to the GitHub, go back to the firmware. Same exact page, it's just different. This one's gonna be for the firmware rather than for the keys. You scroll down again, go to Eden, scroll down again, and then just, like I said, make sure you're using the same thing. So if you got the 22.10 and you come here and download the 22.50, it's not gonna link. You're gonna need to get the 22.10. You hit the download, then we're done with these 2 sites, so we can go ahead and get at it. So we're gonna take care of those first before we start getting the ROMs going. So if you don't have an extractor, I always suggest using Z-Archiver. This is the one I use. I think it's pretty damn good. You'll go to your downloads and find where you've put those 2 files that we just downloaded. So you can see here, I have my firmware. You're gonna leave the firmware in a zip. You don't have to extract it or anything special. Eden will read it in its zip format, so that's chilling. So just leave that alone. Next is gonna be for the prod keys. Your prod keys you do need to extract. I don't know if it comes in a zip or a raw file. Just extract either or. So I already have mine. So once you've extracted it, make it its own little folder because it'll pop up as keys 21.10. And then all we need is the prod keys, not the title keys. So once you've extracted it and yours looks like mine, you can dip out of here and go back into Eden. Now, I don't have the pop-up, obviously, but if you still get the pop-ups, you can just go ahead and import them. And then if you're not getting the pop-ups because you canceled out of them, you can go into the settings. You can do this anytime as well. If you get new firmware or prod keys, you can always just update them this way. You'll scroll down and it'll say manage your Eden data. And then here is what we need to do. So to install firmware, you'll go back and look for that zip file. You go back to download, scroll down, and then you can go ahead and hit this one. And then for your prod keys, you hit download again. You will go back to your downloads. Find that folder, like I said, open it up, and then you would hit prod keys. Once this is done, it will give you a little confirmation message saying that they're finished. And now let's get on to the games. So I'm not gonna speak too crazy on where I got my games and what I use. Y'all can go ahead and just look it up right here. Like I said, use ad blockers. This is why my screen doesn't look like a fucking pop-up mess. So we're gonna go ahead and find our game. So now once you find your game, go ahead and hit download. It'll bring you to this page. You're gonna have to wait a second for the file to load. You scroll down a little bit more, go ahead and hit download. Hit this button again, we'll wait again. And then we'll hit, and it is gonna download in a RAW format, that is fine. We're gonna have to extract this and get the NSP file from within this format. We will do that in a second though. We'll go back, and if your game has DLC or if it has updates, download that as well. So we'll hit update. And we'll wait. Now, once you've come back after you've downloaded your games, you can go ahead and open up Z Archiver again. Like I said, we are going to extract these RAR files because our NSP file, which is the thing that gets read in the Eden emulator, is within these files. So if you just folder these and go back and look in Eden, it's not going to pop up. I always suggest do the base game first. Don't extract, if you have a bunch of DLC, if you have a bunch of updates, don't extract everything all at once. That shit's gonna make it so hard to shift through and put the files in the right folders. So we're gonna go ahead and do the base game first. Once you've extracted it, you can delete the RAR file because this is just taking up extra space. Okay, so now back in our ROMs folder, you can, if you don't have a switch folder, you can just make one. It's not that hard. You go to 3 buttons here, click new folder, and then name it switch. However, since I already have one, I did already move mine. I'll show you guys. Here's my directory, and then in here, you can see I put the file already in there. You just long hold to move a file if you didn't know. Hit the settings, and then hit move to. It'll boot you out, and you can place it wherever you want. Now, once you've moved that file over, we can go ahead and do the same exact thing for the DLCs and the update. One thing I will say though, Eden is able to detect 2 different pathways or multiple different pathways of what you want it to detect. So what I've done is I've made 2 separate folders, one for the ROMs, and then the other one is going to be for the updates and DLC. So they're kind of organized better. So you can see here, I've already made another folder called Switch Updates. This is where I put the DLCs and updates, obviously, of whatever ROM that I'm playing. So I'm just gonna go back and extract that other update file. And like I said, I'm gonna delete this one again to save room. And then we can go ahead and move back into files. We will long hold this one, hit the buttons, move it, and then hit move. Boom. So now when we go back into Eden, it should detect that new game. Like so. As well as I forgot to mention, to even make sure that it detects your games, you are gonna need to point the directory to that same folder that you just put those ROMs into. So a little bit more what I meant. You may get a pop-up, I don't remember. You may get a pop-up, and you may not. It says to set your directory. So your settings, if you don't get one, go into settings, and then just hit manage game folders. You're gonna wanna hit the add, and say games, and then you're gonna want to locate that same switch folder that we put all our stuff in. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing for our updates. You're gonna hit external content, you're gonna hit download, and we're gonna find that switch update, and we're gonna use this folder. And then 2 other notes, you can import your own drivers. You can find one on here or import your own. I used the latest 28 toasted from Mr. Purple. And then last thing, you want to set up the controls, or else in game it won't work. So you would just go ahead, hit controls, and then map them. And then a little housekeeping as well, every game is different. So if you were following along and downloaded the exact same ROM as I did, when you go to boot it up, it won't work. So what you can do is hold on to the game and go into settings, and then hit graphics. And what I did to fix it was I turned off legacy rescale. So boom, if you followed along for this specific game, that should work for you. However, if you have other issues with other games, Just kind of Google it. You should find the answer. But